I'm thinking, what is the value of the vagina? Wow, I can guarantee that few persons have really thought about that. So today's topic is the value of the vagina. Now, I'm going to look at the value of the vagina from three different value assessment. One is from a perceived value assessment, one's from a fictitious value assessment, and one is from a real value assessment. So let me begin now with the perceived value assessment. The perceived value assessment of the vagina is based on what the culture that both men and women are grown and socialized in. And as a result, if a woman is grown into a culture in which vagina is not an issue, it can be given to anyone, any man, any woman, anything, then what does it mean is that the value of that perceived vagina is going to be low. And therefore, men in that culture will play a lower value for the vagina because the vagina is given to men in essence as a gift and nothing special. No, so that one is looking at the perceived value of the vagina, where the culture is used as a value assessment for what the vagina is valued at. Now, what we're saying in this case is that women in such culture or who are grown or socialized, that vagina is nothing at all that can be given to anyone at any time, those vaginas are cheaper. And the men rate those vaginas as cheaper. In the culture in which that is not the case, where the value of the vagina is as scarce as gold, then men in those culture pay a higher price for the vagina because the perceived value is higher. Now, I want to now look at the fictitious value of vagina. The fictitious value of the vagina is where there is a bargaining power, where there's an equilibrium to that vagina, where the demand that man have for the vagina is equal to the supply that females have for the vagina. Now, in that culture, in that environment, what does it mean? Is if the supply of vagina is scarce, then the demand is going to be higher, and therefore men pay a higher value for the vagina. Now, what happens in that environment when women perceive that the supply of vagina is not an issue? So they begin to give away the vagina easily. Then what happens is that the value of the vagina falls because the supply floods the market, and therefore men are going to be willing to pay a lower price for the vagina. So in that environment, it's called the fictitious value of the vagina because women in that environment is supplying more than what men need. Whatever their perception is that men need, they are supplying the vagina more. And an oversupply of the vagina in that environment reduces the cost of the vagina or the value of the vagina. Now, I want to look at now the real value of the vagina. The real value of the vagina is going to be taken in the context of a good or a product. Now, if you take any product, its value is going to be based on what are some of the intrinsic things that goes into it, what constitutes that item. What constitutes the item is how the woman behave, how the man behave, what the culture dictates, what her perception is, how does she actually deal with that. So therefore, in that environment, because the vagina is a product, listen carefully, because the vagina is a product, it means that the vagina gives utility. And men are willing to pay a higher price for products that are scarce because the utility is high or the marginal utility is high. So what happens in that environment? Just as in the case of gold, the price of gold is higher than the price of water simply because gold is scarce, and scarce products have a higher marginal utility than products that are plentiful. So let me put it in context now. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use mathematics now to put the real value of the vagina into your mind. So in that case, the marginal utility that the female has with the vagina over the price that the female is going to charge in terms, and the charge here is how she behaves, what she does, everything, all of that is a part of the charge. It's not going to be equal to the marginal utility that the male gets out of the vagina divided by the price that the man is willing to pay for the vagina. All right. Now, what does it mean now? The price that a man is willing to pay for the vagina using transformation in mathematics will equals to the marginal utility that the man gets times the price that the female puts on the vagina divided by the marginal utility that the female vagina has to the male. No, that is raw mathematics. Let's put it in some context now. What does it mean? When a vagina is not used, that is, infants, children who have not used the vagina, what does it mean? That vagina marginal utility will be zero. And because the marginal utility is zero, because no man has actually gotten that vagina, it means that the price or the price that the man is willing to pay for the vagina is extremely high. Because what it is now, it is dividing marginal utility zero at the base into what the man is going to get a satisfaction with, is even if it is one or a higher value, will come out to work out mathematically infinity. So men are going to be drawn to pay a higher value and a price for vaginas that are not used. And that is why a number of men try to go for what? Children or virgins. And that's why virgins have a higher marginal utility to man than non-virgins. Mathematics for that now. And you're saying, wow, never wasn't aware. But it's all life. Now, let's take a situation now where the woman now is, the vagina is plentiful, or the woman now has children. When the woman begins to have children, the utility value now start to increase from zero to a higher value. Now, if the utility begins to increase and the marginal utility is actually falling, what is going to happen when you divide that marginal utility that the woman is getting given into the marginal utility that the man is going to be getting from the vagina? It means that the man is going to be willing to pay a lower price for the vagina. But what we're saying now is that men will pay a higher price for vaginas that are not used, virgin vaginas. Now, so when a woman actually believes that her vagina will fetch a higher price because of what she believes herself to be, men is not thinking about the vagina in that respect. Because let's understand clearly, a male who has resources is willing to, or a male who has resources can actually get almost any female that he so desire. And beautiful females are willing to actually go to that male. So to that male, the price of the vagina is going to be lower. Why? Simple demand and supply. Now, what happens now? So a man begins to look at the vagina now in terms of its usage. So it has moved now from zero usage to more usage. The male is now interpreting a female's beauty and a female's age as a critical factor in what is going to pay for the vagina. So the more the woman is beautiful, is the more the man perceive that woman, listen carefully, the more the man perceive that woman to have given the vagina to other men. And the fact that she has given the vagina to other men increases her utility. And increasing her utility decreases her marginal contribution to the next man. So therefore, that reduction in marginal utility to the next man will mean that the man will pay a lower price, even though she's beautiful. So women may perceive that their beauty increased their marginal utility for the vagina. That's absolutely not the case. What it means is that the man put a lower value on you in terms of your marginal utility to him because he perceived that the vagina has been used and well used. And the fact that the vagina is well used, that means that the consumption of the vagina is high. Therefore, the marginal contribution to the man from the vagina is lower. And that lower marginal contribution is what the man is going to be paying for, a lower value for that vagina. So what does it mean? So it means that vaginas that are scarce, vaginas that are not well used and used, vaginas that come with a beautiful body are going to be totally priced different by the male. Because what the male is looking at beauty, and for the male, beauty means consumption of the vagina. And the more the vagina is consumed in context of the male's perception, is the more utility fall. And the more the utility fall, is the less the man will pay for that vagina. Now, what does it mean? It means a man is also taking into consideration childbirth years. So when a woman passes 25, 30 years old, a man begin to see a female has been more used or not relevant for childbirth, because childbirth is a critical part of what men is thinking about for females. Now, so with the woman reaching 30 and going beyond 30 and going beyond 40 and going beyond 49, male will see that vagina has been more used. And a more used vagina because of age is a lower marginal utility that the man will get from that vagina. And as a result, he'll pay a lower price. So ladies and gentlemen, there's a perceived use of the vagina, which is based on the culture. There's a fictitious use of the vagina, which is the bargaining power that the female or the male has, supply and demand. And there is the utility value of the vagina. The utility value of the vagina is a real value of the vagina that the men are going to be paying for. Say the vagina is more used, more beautiful women have more children. That gives lower utility, and the lower utility attracts a lower price. Those are my views. What are yours? Share with me your thoughts. Like, share, comment, because this one must be argued from our perspective, yours as well as mine.